Hey guys, dating life gone pretty shitty?
I find you so creepy, I think you should have to walk around with a bell around your neck.
Finding yourself getting a little desperate for some female companionship?
Alexa, tell me you love me.
Hell no. You disgust me.
What you need is to upgrade your style right now. The Toxic Store's got exactly what you need. Pick up some stylish gear featuring Deviant Gamer, Toxic Radio, and the Heavy Metal Happy Hour.
Oh, yeah!
You can find the store through the Toxic Radio app or toxicradio.net. Get in the game.
Do I make you horny, baby?
Get yourself a little love.
That guy's getting boobies.
Yeah, he is.
Toxic Radio and the Toxic Store. Don't buy it safe. Buy it toxic. You know what all the cool kids are doing these days? Listening to podcasts. And what does Toxic Radio have? Podcasts, duh.
Just as I thought.
Go to toxicradio.net and check out our weekly schedule for the lineup of great shows. Miss any of them live? No worries.
Thank God, dude.
We're on all the top podcast platforms, or just find them at toxicradio.net or on the free app. The choice is yours. Be cool or not.
We're gonna be cool.
Toxic Radio. Get the podcasts and get infected. All sports talk shows are the same, right?
I am bothered by everything.
You gotta go back to football school.
The goal of this guy, it's just immeasurable.
Wrong. In a world filled with talking heads more interested in their own celebrity than actually knowing the sports world, it's hard to find the people who really care about sports first. Look no further. Wire to Wire has it all covered. These guys have the knowledge and the cred to back up their opinions. No hot takes to get attention, just straight up opinions. Know anyone else who correctly called the 2020 World Series and March Madness? How about 70% on the NFL and NCAA football last year? You don't. Bottom line, these guys know their shit. They aren't doing it for attention, they're doing it for passion. Wire to Wire, live every Wednesday, 8:30 Eastern, only on Toxic Radio and wherever you find podcasts.
Welcome to Wire Sports Podcast, show 76. Our country was founded in 1776. This is show 76, Wire Sport Podcast. I am your host, Gene Walzak, and coming from us remotely, I have Uncle Shally.
What's going on?
I got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, from Columbus, Ohio, College Cottrell.
What's up, guys?
And both of them are on mute. This is amazing. So let's get started. We got a ton to get into. We got NCAA, March Madness, second chance brackets, movie brackets, MLB list, NFL list. Cottrell, I heard the giggle. I know you're there. Shally, are you hearing me? Can I hear you?
I can hear you the whole time.
Right, perfect. No, we couldn't hear you, though. That was the thing. That's okay. We're all here now. We got a ton of stuff to get into this show. As always, we're always fighting against the clock, but we got college basketball, March Madness. We're in the middle of it. The wildest, and this is just in all my years of living, opening weekend I have ever seen. Anybody object to that?
It's the craziest one I could ever remember.
Nope. I've never, and just the parity in college basketball is at the absolute height. Like, I'm glad to not have a great bracket this year because those games were incredible, front to back.
We had kind of said that, too, coming in. You know, we said that this was the year that, you know, anybody could essentially win the championship. Like, it was a wide open field this year. And, you know, although team-wise it may not have played out exactly how we thought, I mean, as wide open as it is, I feel like this is exactly what we were expecting coming into the tournament.
So before
we've been saying it all year. We've been saying it all year. I mean, this is what we expected. This is what we got. I mean, there's too many good teams. I think you're seeing a lot of the teams that benefited from kids staying because of COVID, older teams, more experienced teams, and a lot of the blue bloods and a lot of the upper seeds, I think, took that for granted, and they're not playing anymore.
That's fire. So I have a couple questions before we get into re-picking the bracket. Just a couple questions for you guys. What's your surprise team? Obviously, all right, so this is too easy. St. Peter's is your surprise team. Is there any other team that really surprised you in how they came to play? Any team that impressed you a ton that you want to talk about outside of St. Peter's? St. Peter's, we're going to give them all the credit in the world. We're going to talk about them a ton. But, like, let's just start with you, Shally. Is there a team that, like, really just impressed you the way they started?
I mean, there's two for me. They're actually going to play each other on, I don't know if they play tomorrow or Friday, but, I mean, that Iowa State-Miami game, some people didn't think Miami should make the tournament. They were very, average at best all year in the ACC. Lackluster. They had a couple good wins. They have a couple really bad losses. And I can tell you this. I probably saw Miami play once, maybe twice. I saw Iowa State play a bunch this year. I did not see these performances coming out of them whatsoever. They are a good, scrappy defensive team. But, I've seen them lose to middle-of-the-road teams in the Big 12 all year. For them to come in and win 2 games back-to-back right off the bat and get to the Sweet 16, that whole quarter of the bracket down there was shocking to me all the way across the board.
I love it. Cottrell, what are your thoughts? Surprising teams?
I'm a little upset that Bill didn't go with Michigan there, because I'm going with Iowa State here. Iowa State is definitely the surprise from this little region down here. When you're going up against a team like Wisconsin, and Wisconsin's the 3 seed, and we talked about how awful we thought that Iowa State LSU game was going to be just to kick it off. And so for them to not only win that game, but then to come back and then, beat a Wisconsin team that had Johnny Davis on it, very, very impressive. And it is absolutely unbelievable that one of those teams is going to be in the Elite Eight. You could have gave me 2,500 brackets and I wouldn't have picked that. So that's definitely the surprise of the tournament so far outside of St. Peter.
I'm going to say something that's going to sound absolutely wild to you. I promise you it will. My biggest surprise, the team that impressed me the most was TCU. Granted, I know they lost to Arizona in overtime, in which, in my opinion, was the best game of the entire weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They dominated their first-round matchup. I think they won the game by 40 points. Just 8-9 matchup was not a matchup for TCU. And they were every bit game to take down Arizona Sunday night in the last game Sunday night. And I'll be honest with you, if Arizona goes on to win the whole tournament, it will not be a tougher game than they faced in TCU. Arizona is a very, very good team. And they had their 2 stars go for 30 and 28 in that game, and they still needed overtime to win that game. And to be honest with you, if you guys watched the game, the craziest thing, there could have been a foul in that final play for TCU. The ball where Arizona stole the ball and took it in and then missed the drive, didn't dunk it in time. That could have been a foul, and that game could have played out totally different. TCU, the Horned Frogs, surprised the hell out of me this weekend. Michigan isn't a surprise. And if you guys have heard me gripe about Michigan right before this bracket started, the reason isn't because I don't think they're a good basketball team. They're a very good basketball team. The reason I gripe so much about Michigan is because they were a preseason top 4 team, and they played like dog shit all year, and I didn't think they deserved to be in the tournament. 17 and 14 team, I just didn't think deserved to be in the tournament. Now, the talent-wise on that team, Hunter Dickinson, and when that offense runs through him, they look like a really good basketball team. And them versus Villanova is going to be a hell of a basketball game because Villanova has nobody to slow down Hunter Dickinson. What they're going to have to rely on is the elite guard play that Villanova possesses to be able to stop him from getting the ball and also be able to double, but be able to transition to the open 3-point shooter. Well, we'll get into that when we break down that game. But what do you guys think about TCU?
I agree with you. I think the crazy thing was we were talking all weekend, obviously, and I felt like every day we were like, "Oh, there's the game of the tournament so far," and then a couple hours later we would say it again, and then you had obviously, I agree with you, Gene. The hands down winner so far was TCU Arizona. You had the weird ending where I think the kid thought he had more time than he did with the dunk, but they gave Arizona. When you push a 1 seed to the brink like that and give them everything they want, that speaks volumes. TCU was another team, in the Big 12. Big 12 is a really tough conference this year. Really good defense, scrappy team. They're tough, they're physical. And they balled out. I mean, that's the best game they played all year. I mean, we saw them beat Kansas this year. A couple of other the top tier teams in the Big 12. So it's good. It's what you want this time of year. You want to see the kids rise to the occasion, and the teams. You want competitive games like that. Nobody wants to see a 1 seed beat an 8 or 9 seed by 30 in the second round. That's not exciting. I think a lot of people who had Arizona, me included, were sweating that one a little bit, but that's what makes it fun. That's what the draw of March Madness is. You pick your team and you ride with them, but you pick every game in this tournament if you're filling out brackets, and every game is a ride in its own, and it's just so much fun, dude. I don't know if there's another. I said it last week. I don't know if there's another event, including the Super Bowl, that rivals March Madness for me. I just don't think there is.
No, I completely agree with you. Eddie Lampkin for TCU played a hell of a basketball game. He was 8 for 9, 20 points, 14 boards against the Twin Towers that Arizona has. But the person that made himself the most money this weekend was Benedict Mathurin for Arizona. That kid balled. The putbacks, the offensive rebounds, like he was balling. Control, do you have a favorite game of the tournament so far?
My favorite game of the tournament so far, I don't know yet.
I kind of threw you on the spot there.
I don't know if I want to necessarily go with Arizona TCU, just because. Just full disclosure here, I told you guys I went back and watched the ending of it, but while it was going on, I fell asleep right before the madness happened. So, favorite game of the tournament so far? That's a good question.
My favorite was Villanova beating the dog crap out of Ohio State. That game was a whitewash.
Yeah, it sure was. That little 10-point win you had was
Ohio State didn't trail one time. It didn't lead the game once. They didn't have one time where they were ahead. Just saying.
Yeah, that 10-point win was definitely a blowout.
A dub's a dub, my friend.
I get it.
All right. So
I don't have a favorite game.
Okay. Well, who's your biggest disappointment then?
Biggest disappointment would be Tennessee.
It's a good one.
Tennessee, it's a team that I thought was going to win it all. I picked it in my bracket, and they fell out in the second round of the tournament. And Michigan is a good team. Whatever, however you want to put it. But I thought Tennessee, they had the game in their hands, and down the stretch they just blew it. Obviously, Hunter Dickinson is a problem, and it's tough to contain them. And when Michigan's guards are playing well, they're a hard team to stop. But at the end of the day, Tennessee, they weren't hitting shots in the end. They had some good looks. They were running good offense, but they just didn't get it done. So I'm disappointed in the Volunteers.
Clank, 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 clank. Tennessee missed more open shots in the last 6 minutes of that game than I've ever seen them miss all year. I want to be clear. I want to give Michigan all the credit in the world, though. Dickinson was a problem the entire game. They ran that offense through him. He was a force defensively, but Tennessee missed so many open shots in that game. I was floored. I've never seen them miss that many shots in a game all year. I'll go second, and then Shally go third. My biggest disappointment, I'm not going to go with the low-hanging fruit in Kentucky. My biggest disappointment was Auburn, the Auburn Tigers. Now, granted, I've been saying they're a fraud all year, but I didn't expect them to quit the way they did. Auburn got dog-walked. Auburn was absolutely embarrassed in their game Sunday. I was embarrassed for them. And I'll go so far to say Jabari Davis shouldn't be the number one. Jesus. I don't think he should be the first overall pick in the draft. And I think that game showed me that. Auburn got embarrassed by Miami, and I can't defend them at all. I think that them being a 2 seed and playing that poor, Jabari Smith, Jesus, Davis Smith. You guys can throw me off a bridge after that one. But Auburn would be my biggest disappointment. An 18-point loss to a Miami team in the second round is just pathetic. Shally?
I mean, I'll do the obvious low hanging fruit here. I'm white, I'm tired, and I can't jump, so I'm picking low hanging fruit. I'm going to stay in the SEC though. I'm going to go with Kentucky. I think the interesting thing was we were all very high on both teams. Have it be Kentucky and Tennessee for the way they came down the stretch. Them and you include Arkansas, they were all catching Auburn at the end. I feel like if the SEC play was another 2 weeks long and everybody had four more games, I don't know if Auburn wins the SEC. For them to lay that egg against St. Peter's is just that is an all-time stain on John Calipari's record. Those kids, for the first half, they came out and they just looked like they expected to walk through them. They looked disinterested. They didn't look very motivated. And St. Peter's just came out and punched them in the mouth. Before they knew it, they were in the game and they were up Schitt's Creek before they really knew what was going on, and they couldn't come back. They kept making runs in the second half, and every time I thought they were going to turn the corner and get there, St. Peter's would come down and just get a huge bucket, and then you could see the air come out of all of them. They just knew it was like they just were resigned to the fact that they knew they were about to lose to a 15 seed. So for me, with the talent he recruits and all these one and dones, you can't lose to a 15 seed on opening weekend. That's inexcusable for me. So it's definitely Kentucky for me.
I understand that completely. The thing that's Mike, you can throw up the bracket now. We're going to go over the bracket. But the thing that most was impressive to me was the amount of offensive rebounds and amount of loose balls that St. Peter's got. Second chance points.
Yep.
The I wanted more points.
Correct. Exactly what it was. That team wanted to win the game more than Kentucky.
The other team that I kind of was very disappointed in as well would be Iowa. Iowa losing in the first round, and that was a team who I thought could make it to the Final Four. And it just seemed like they just didn't have enough skill almost. Like that's just kind of how I felt. Keegan Murray, he waited until late to really get into his rhythm, and it just wasn't the Iowa team that we saw late in the season. So I was very disappointed in their performance.
I've said it all year. That team lives and dies with Keegan Murray. When Keegan Murray's not shooting the ball well, that team's not a good team. Now, granted, Keegan Murray's a very good player, but that team lives and dies with him. And when he was clanking balls, I think he was like 0 for 8 from his first 8 threes.
He didn't shoot necessarily horrible. He almost seemed like he was disinterested in trying to score, especially like in the second half. It seemed like he was very passive as opposed to him taking the game over, and then he tried to, will the team back, but at that point it was just too late for him.
Yeah.
I mean, to Gene's point, go. I was just saying, like, to Gene's point, like we said it all year, Iowa's fatal flaw is they like to run up and down the court and shoot, and if you can get them in a half court game and make them play defense, they're very susceptible to losing, and that's what you saw. They slowed that game down. They made Iowa run half court sets. That's not what they want to do. And Iowa's defense is absolutely by far the weakness of their team. We've been saying it for a month on the show, and they couldn't get stops when they had to. And again, another hot trendy team went home. Gene, I don't know about you, but I just want to give credit for Cottrell for about 4 hours into the tournament already, just sending that meme in the group chat of him watching the dumpster on fire and being like, "This is my bracket." Him just throwing his hands up about 6 games into the tournament was my favorite thing of the weekend.
That was hilarious. Let's start with the West, okay? Because Gonzaga, the overall number 1 seed, they're playing Arkansas. There's a lot of things I see in that Gonzaga team versus Memphis, and Arkansas to me is Memphis plus. Like they're like the same team Memphis is, just a little bit like plus, like a little better version of them. So like let's not Gonzaga. I'm shocked that they're a 9-point favorite in that game. Shocked. I don't think they should be. Gonzaga. Chet showed me what I've been saying all year. Chet Holmgren was a liability in that game versus Memphis. He was not the solution. Drew Timme willed that team into the Sweet 16. And what he came out and did in the second half of that game, he's going to need to do a lot more of that. Nasir Bolton played well. Andrew Nemhard played well. But I'm telling you right now, Chet Holmgren is a liability to this team versus physical, athletic teams. And that's exactly what you're getting with Arkansas. Who you guys like in that first game?
I think Arkansas is physical. They're not quite as big or long as Memphis, and I think that's going to be the saving grace for Gonzaga here. I do 100% agree with you, Gene. Chet's got to play better if they're going to win. Have it be this game or as they continue. They could eventually, somewhere along the line here, run into Purdue. And if he plays like he did against Memphis against Purdue, they're going to lose because Purdue has bigs that are going to just bully the hell out of him. I like Gonzaga. Gene, I agree with you as well. I think the number's a little too big for me to feel comfortable taking that. But I do think Gonzaga wins. Again, I've said it all along. I think Arkansas is great athletically. They play very good defense. They play well together, again, which is another attribute you have to have in March Madness. Memphis, believe it or not, is a better shooting team than Arkansas, and I think that's where Arkansas is going to struggle. I think Gonzaga will probably give up the long-range stuff, the outside shooting, and live with it. And if Arkansas shoots, 45, 50% from three for the game, then Gonzaga might be in trouble. But I don't think they're going to have the inside presence that like Memphis had. Memphis bigs were very good. Arkansas's strength of their team is their guards. So I'm going to go Gonzaga.
Cottrell, who do you got in this game? I think you picked Arkansas before the tournament started.
I sure did, and I'm sticking with them. That game against Memphis showed me kind of what I thought about Gonzaga. They're a good team, and they have great players all around. But exactly like you said about Chet Holmgren, he is definitely a liability for them. And I think we saw that with what Memphis was doing. The problem with what Memphis had going is that their bigs started to get into foul trouble once Timmy started heating up. So
Yep.
If you play a little bit smarter and your starters, your traditional bigs that you had in that were given the issues for Gonzaga, if you get them to stay in the game, I think you have a really good chance of winning. Now, Bill, you brought up Arkansas's guard play. I absolutely like Arkansas's guard play here. JD Note is going to be a problem. Gene, you mentioned Nimhard and Bolton. Those guys are good, but of the guards, JD Note is going to be the best one of them. I think as long as Arkansas can consistently be physical with Gonzaga and just make them uncomfortable and stay out of foul trouble, I really like their chances of winning this game.
See, the problem with Arkansas, though, is, and this is what I'm going to live and die by, you are not winning. First of all, you scored 75 points versus Vermont, who the only thing that's worse than their defense is their cheese. Second, New Mexico State, you can't score 53 points against Gonzaga and win that game. You're not going to do it. Gonzaga will not play a game that is in the 60s. It just won't happen. They're going to score 70 in every tournament minimum in this, and that's why I'm going with Gonzaga, but not by as much as people might think. I need you to scroll down for me a little bit, Mike. We need to talk about Texas Tech Duke. The Duke Blue Devils look like they were fish out of water in the first half. It looked like Coach K was getting out-coached by Tom Izzo, and down the stretch, I felt like Duke's big players finally stepped up to the occasion. And I feel like the Pablo Bancheros, the Duke Blue Devils, get past the best defensive team in the tournament, the Texas Tech Raiders. I'm gonna go Duke here.
I mean, I've been on this game since the get-go. This is one of the first things, I picked the West bracket first, and this wasn't much of a choice for me. I like Texas Tech. I've said it the whole time. Duke's depth is one of their weaknesses. Texas Tech is not going to give up open jumpers from the outside. They're going to make Duke work on all these possessions. Duke is not fluid offensively enough outside of Banchero for me to really get their points when they want to individually. I think that's a problem against Texas Tech. And Duke is nothing special to write home about defensively. I know Texas Tech can struggle to score sometimes. But I like Texas Tech. I think it's a lower scoring game, obviously. Maybe high 50s, low 60s. I don't think it's anything crazy. I think Texas Tech gets it done and gets their rematch with Gonzaga.
Okay. Cottrell?
I'm rolling with the Duke Blue Devils in this one. We mentioned this game. This is a game that we kind of all saw coming all along from the start of a tournament. And Gene, I think you hit it. You hit the nail on the head with it. Duke stars finally came out and they showed, I think Paolo Branquero absolutely solidified his claim to being the number one pick in the draft, especially after the Jabari Smith performance earlier. And I think Duke is just going to be one of those classic cases of my guys are better than your guys. Yes, Texas Tech plays defense, and yes, I think it's going to be tight down the stretch. But I think Duke's going to be able to give the ball to Pablo, and he's just going to say, I'm going to put the team on my back. I'm going to go get that bucket when we need it. And Duke's ultimately going to win the game.
I see Jeremy Roach and Wendell Moore Jr. both had incredible games for Duke also. And down the stretch, they were like they had ice water in their veins at the free throw line. Wendell Moore Jr. hit the two biggest free throws of the game, kind of put the game out of reach when it went to from 4 to 6. I like Duke here. I want to see Duke Gonzaga part 2. But let's scroll down. We got a lot to get into. By the way, anybody asking on the wire line about the brackets, I will go over that leaderboard. I will talk about who I think is going to win our wire-to-wire brackets. So I got that. North Carolina, UCLA. I said on this show, I have the clip, that I think North Carolina would upset Baylor, but I didn't have the balls to pick it for the dumbest reason ever. I said, well, they got to play Marquette. They beat Marquette by like 50. I mean, 32. Let's be nice, but North Carolina upsetting Baylor in what could have been the biggest collapse ever in the second half, the 25-point swing. But North Carolina got it done in overtime. The tough gritness of the Tar Heels versus the best one-on-one team in college basketball, the UCLA Bruins. They got it done versus St. Mary's, and they got it done rather easily. What do you like in this game? Start with you, Shally. Shally, you go because I'm going to go last. You went first.
This game's tough for me. I believe it or not, I liked the matchup for UCLA against Baylor, which is what I had in my bracket, better for UCLA. Simply because North Carolina is a drastically better offensive team than Baylor is. I thought UCLA would be able to score enough against Baylor, and Baylor would just struggle. I'm gonna go North Carolina. I think in a very close game. I think with Malik being able to step out and stretch them with a stretch five, you saw how big his presence was in the Baylor game. When he got ejected, like they literally crumbled and almost completely fell apart. I think he's the key to the game. I like, as good as Juzang and all them is, North Carolina has good guards as well. I think North Carolina is going to be able to dominate inside. I think this is another very entertaining, fun game, though. Like this is probably the dark horse for the game of the weekend. I think it's going to be fireworks. You'll see a bunch of big plays, but I'll go North Carolina in a close game.
I got UCLA 91-88. High scoring game. UCLA wins it. One-on-one play, and I get the tough buckets down the stretch. The thing that most scared me about North Carolina, and I get it, one of their best players was kicked out of the game, but it looked like they couldn't inbound the basketball. They had nothing to do against press defense. They were turning the ball over at a rapid rate, and I felt like the moment was huge. I felt like when Baylor took that game to overtime, that it was almost like they let out the air. They're like, and let the air out, and North Carolina took advantage of that. And I got to give them credit, but I like UCLA. I think they're the better basketball team than North Carolina. UCLA goes to my Elite Eight, just like I have it. I'm basically picking my Elite Eight so far to a T. Control?
So you asked me earlier what my favorite game of the opening weekend was. It was 100% Baylor, North Carolina. I was at work watching the game, and I was losing my mind watching them come back. Vividly, I remember you texted in the group talking about North Carolina might boat race Baylor, and it was like 10 minutes left in the second half, and I'm like, this game's not over yet. Like I saw the momentum starting to get there. And then out of nowhere, they came all the way back. So definitely my favorite game of the weekend. As for this game here, though, I'm rolling with UCLA. I think the experience is really going to help them in this game. The moment, it almost seemed like you said, the moment was pretty big for North Carolina, especially after their best player got ejected. But UCLA, this is a team that's been there before. They know how to win the tough ones. We saw the first game against Akron. It was an ugly game, and one could argue that Akron outplayed them that game. But when you're a team like UCLA, no matter if it's cute, if it's ugly, you find a way to gut out those wins. And I think this is going to be another one. They got to find a way to keep North Carolina off the offensive glass, and I think UCLA is going to do that. So I like UCLA winning a high-scoring one. I don't think it's going to hit the 90s, but I'll go like 82-78 in a tight, higher scoring game.
The Wells Fargo Center has an extra eighth of an inch on their rims, so the ball goes in a lot easier there. I'm kidding. All right, scroll down. We're starting with Cottrell on the last one here. We got Purdue versus St. Peter's. Cottrell, how do you see it?
Well, I am going to steal Bill's line here. St. Peter's. It's been fun, but word to boys to men, we've come to the end of the road. I think this Cinderella finally got her glass slipper. Clocks hit midnight. All the sayings you want to say. Purdue is just the better team, man. They got Edie and Williams down low with Ivy at the guard spot. I think this matchup here, it's just not a good one for St. Peter's. And give them all the credit in the world. Obviously, like, I'll be rooting for them. I'm always rooting for the underdog if I have no dog in the race. But I think Purdue is just going to be too much for them in this one. And I actually think Purdue is going to run away with this one.
Guys, it's the easiest game to pick in the whole weekend. I'm not talking about straight up. I'm talking about against the spread. I'll take Purdue minus 20 if you give it to me. I'm not kidding with you. They're going to run St. Peter's. What happens to 15 seeds after they leave opening weekend? They go home, they get to repack. It's a different ball game when you get back there. They can't drive the lane like they did against Murray State. Murray State was missing its best player, by the way, who looked like he tore his ACL in the first play of the San Francisco game, like within 3 minutes into the game. Murray State was missing their best player, and they beat Kentucky, who didn't look like they wanted to be there. And great for St. Peter's. St. Peter's, I'm so glad their name gets talked about. Peacock Pride, baby. I get it. New Jersey, they're cheerleaders. Dude, don't let me get into that. That's a huge mess in the NCAA. If you guys don't know about
Absolutely.
Joke. NBC wanted to do a nice thing, and I don't know if you guys are using that for You Got to Be Kidding Me, so I'll just shut up. But NBC wanted to do a nice thing for their cheerleaders. So we'll get them out to Indianapolis. So they put them on a bus that's 11 hours away instead of flying them there. It's like a joke. But my point, good for St. Peter's. Peacock Pride. But with that being said, Edie and Ivy, it just is what it is. Purdue by 30.
I agree with both of you. And Gene, you hit on the one thing that I was going to talk about. The worst thing that happens to these teams, a 15 seed that wins 2 games in a row is the break. If the best thing for them would be to keep playing every other day, like you said, they go home, they leave where they were playing or where they're comfortable. They go back to campus, they practice. Everybody on campus is telling them how great they are now, and so forth and so on. They're not as dialed in, and they're just going to go and play a more talented basketball team in Purdue, who is, honestly, if you ask me, Purdue and Kentucky are very similar. Purdue plays a little bit more of a tougher brand of basketball, though. They'll dive on the ball. They'll dive on the ground for balls. They'll do all the stuff. Kentucky's more of a pretty basketball team. I'm with Gene. I think it's Purdue. I think it's by a lot, way into the double digits. And St. Peter's had their moment in the sun, and I'm happy for them. That is what makes March Madness great when you see the little schools go up against the big guys and win. They are definitely going to be the Cinderella story of this tournament. So I'm happy for them. It's great for their school, but this is the end of the road for St. Peter's.
Scroll all the way to the right side, Mike, all the way, and then we'll get into the winners. Iowa State versus Miami of Florida. We got to kind of ramp it up a little bit, guys, on this side. Iowa State versus Miami of Florida. None of us had them here. I got to give someone credit. Someone in the bracket. I think Tom Flynn had Miami in this Sweet 16 round. I didn't see anybody else to have Miami here. Miami's going to beat Iowa State. I don't think Iowa State's that good. I think Wisconsin did exactly what Wisconsin does in these tournaments. And they just didn't shoot well, and the air was not in the basketball. And they got ran. I mean, it is what it is. Iowa State beat them 54-49. They also won their first game 59-54. I find one thing interesting that Miami does. If you notice, in the middle of any play, at the middle of any shot, Miami's guard runs down the end of the court, cherry picking every single time. They have more fast break points than any team in the tournament right now. 79, 68 in their first 2 games, but they're getting tons of fast break layups. I got Miami in this game. Not that surprising to me. I think it'll be easy.
I got Miami as well. And if you notice the pattern here, Iowa State is a limited team offensively. If you get a game into the 60s, you probably have a good shot of winning. And I think this is going to be that type of game. I think it's going to be a lower scoring defensive battle. It's going to be a physical game. It's going to be hard fought. Gritty. Gritty's a good word to use for this game. I think Miami has a little bit more on the offensive end as well, a couple more options. I think they'll be able to steal a couple fast break points. Iowa State's, strength is definitely their defense. But I'll go Miami as well. I'll go Miami like 63-56.
I like it. Cottrell?
I am going to go for the sweep here. I'm also going with Miami. I think that you guys hit it basically on the head. Iowa State, you guys use the word gritty. Iowa State is that gritty team. They love the muck kind of basketball, and that's how they're going to go out and win games. But I think with this Miami team, it's just going to be a case of I mentioned it a lot last week at a lot of games. I think this is just going to be a case of I don't think Iowa State can score as many buckets as what Miami can. So I like Miami to win this one. Let's 68-58, somewhere along the lines of that.
This is one of my 2-8 spots I cannot win. I cannot get this Elite Eight right. Scroll up a little bit, Mike. Kansas versus Providence. I'm shocked Providence is here. I really am. I think that Iowa kind of like ridded us of a great basketball game by laying an egg versus the Richmond Spiders. And Providence did exactly what you should do to Richmond, who's not a good basketball team. I like Kansas in this one. I think Kansas is the way better team than Providence in this one. I'll take Kansas pretty handily.
I have Kansas in my Final Four. I'm sticking with them here. Providence has gotten lucky twice in this tournament, and which is hysterical to me because it was literally kind of the definition of their season this year. They won every game that they were either behind by one or up one with like 30 seconds to go during the course of the season. They won more close games than everybody by some crazy circumstances. South Dakota State couldn't throw a ball into the ocean for the first half of their game in the opening round. If they did, they would have beat them. And then to Gene's point, they roll into the second round and they get Richmond because Iowa lays an egg, so they don't have to play Iowa. This is it for Providence, though. I like Kansas. Kansas plays good defense. They're very, very well oiled on the well-oiled machine on the offensive side of the ball. They can play fast break. They can play half court. Kansas just has too much talent. I like Kansas, by 8 or 9 points here.
Cottrell?
I'm going Kansas in the blowout. I'm not even gonna get too much into it, just because I think Kansas is gonna really put it on Providence. Like I think this might be the most lopsided game of the weekend if it's not Purdue and St. Peter's.
That's it. All right, scroll up. We get the fun one. Villanova versus Michigan. Listen, this past weekend I took out Cottrell. Thursday night we're taking out Jolly. Villanova is just too much. They're too well coached. Their guard play is better. They're the best free throw shooting team in the country. The Villanova Wildcats win this game versus Michigan. It won't be by much. It won't be pretty. Villanova doesn't have all the amazing athletes. What they do have is they have a good brand of basketball, best culture in the country. I'll take Villanova. Villanova by 7. Who's going next?
I'll go next. I'll take it. This is a can't win situation for me. I was hoping that maybe these guys could like draw or something. They both get like flat tires on the way to the arena, and there's no other buses that can pick them up. But this game I've actually been really going back and forth on. The big key here is Villanova finding a way to stop Hunter Dickinson. Gene kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier. Villanova doesn't have that one guy that can stick Hunter. Not many teams in the country do. But what Villanova does do, they do a great job of doubling, and when they double, they do a great job of rotating. So if Michigan's not hitting their shots, this game is going to get tough for Michigan. If they are hitting their shots, it's going to be tight. I'm going Nova by 4. It's going to be a tight game.
Good, Charlie.
I also think it's going to be a good game. You guys have kind of hit on the keys of the game. Not much I have to go over there. Michigan is the best 2-point shooting team in the entire country. I don't think they're going to have to rely on the 3 on this. You've already seen the blueprint of what they're going to do. I don't know if anybody in Nova can do it. If they can stop Hunter, then I think Nova wins comfortably. If they can't, I think Michigan's a very live dog in this game. The spread's only 1.5, I believe. I'm going to go Michigan to keep it going. I can't pick against them. I'll go Michigan. I'll go Michigan 68-65.
The spread's
that
5.
was literally the only answer.
The 5?
That was the only answer.
It's 5. Let's not act like Villanova isn't the favorite here. Scroll up for me. Arizona versus Houston. Houston has played 2 very, very, very good basketball games. With that being said, I have something I have to say about the Illinois game, and I'll talk about that later, so please don't ruin my thunder. Do we need to sing the song again? Because Arizona is going to give Houston the end of the road. Arizona over Houston.
I agree. Houston played very well against UAB. I don't think they played great against Illinois. I'm not going to get into that too much for Gene's obvious point, because it was important. Illinois is a team that struggles on the offensive end. We've seen it all year long in the Big Ten play. That outcome didn't surprise me that much at all, to be quite honest with you. I think Houston will give Arizona fits playing defense, but they're going to struggle mightily against Arizona trying to score the ball. So I'll go Arizona comfortable as well.
Okay, so now that we've talked about every team, all we're going to do is give winners. No, I'm sorry. I apologize, Control.
I don't know about Arizona comfortably.
Sorry, Control.
Houston has been playing lights out basketball, and I think that against Arizona, that's a good matchup. That's a good matchup for them. I do think Arizona ultimately wins the game, but Houston can play the kind of defense to make Arizona uncomfortable. And if Arizona starts turning the ball over, then that game's going to get real tight down the stretch.
So we've talked about every team, so we're just going to pick winners. But before we do that, I want to go over our bracket real quick and just give a little bit of an update. I'm not going to talk about everybody in the bracket. Great job to everybody. What I look at is the maximum of points that you can score. So, let me give you an example, right? Buddy Lucas is listed as number 5, but his maximum points is 9-10. He had Tennessee winning the whole thing. He's eliminated. I'm glad he's in 5th place. He's awesome, but he's eliminated. P. Daly, if Villanova wins, will win the tournament. I think that's somebody that works with you, Bill.
That's one of my bosses. Yeah, he's a huge Villanova guy. Lives in Haverford. If Villanova wins the tournament, I don't think he can be beat.
R.J. Kaler has 1,560 maximum points right now. He still doesn't win the tournament, even though he's in 2nd place. If Eric Rosenblum's bracket runs out, he has 1,620 maximum points. He has 7 of the 8 Elite 8 teams left, which is absurd. So Eric Rosenblum, R.J. Kaler, P. Daly, Gator don't play no shit. Don't know who that is. Guys, got to help me.
That's somebody else that works with me. That's Brandon Pfister.
If Arizona wins, he should win.
Who does Eric and RJ have winning?
RJ has Gonzaga. Peru. No, RJ has Gonzaga, and Eric has Gonzaga. The guy thought Purdue was Peru, and he's in 2nd place in the whole thing. This is why you should join March Madness, because it's madness. And then I just want one more. Duke Fear Bonner has Duke in there. I don't know who that is either. But they are. If Duke wins the tournament, they should win this comfy. Last year's winner, Nick Dolis, looks like he's eliminated. Kentucky is out of the tournament. He hasn't won the whole thing. So as far as us, Cottrell has Tennessee winning it all. We'll basically say he's out. The show bracket between myself and Shally. Uncle Shally's got Arizona. I got Gonzaga. If Gonzaga or Arizona don't win, I will win. If Arizona wins, Shally will win. If Gonzaga or anybody else wins, I will win. Just making that clear. I have 6 of my 8 Elite 8 teams left and all 4 Final Four teams left. So right now, I would say my bracket's in the lead. Cottrell has the most points, and Shally has Arizona. So he's got Arizona as a fighting chance. Let's get into picking winners here. I have Arizona versus Nova. Sorry, Nova, 2 7-footers. Arizona's going to win that game. I'm going Arizona in my Final Four. Who's in your Final Four in the South bracket?
Arizona.
I have Arizona. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I have Arizona winning. So even if Michigan wins, Michigan is not matched up with Arizona at all. So regardless of who wins that game between Michigan and Villanova, I have Arizona winning.
Okay, scroll down to the bottom, please. We're going to do this pretty quick. I have Kansas versus Miami. I have Kansas in my Final Four. That's who's in my Final Four on our bracket, and I'll stick with that.
Same for me. I have Kansas in my Final Four. I have Kansas winning this bracket. I think Kansas is a huge favorite to come out of this region.
Agreed. All right, scroll. Control. I'm sorry. I'm skipping you again.
If you're Kansas, you're looking your chops. You get a 16 seed Creighton, then Providence. Now you probably going to get Miami or Florida. I'm Kansas. I'm rolling to the Final Four.
Okay. Scroll to the left. We're going to start with Kittrell because if I forget him one more time, I feel like I'm going to quit the show.
That
Kittrell.
region,
Yes.
I like UCLA over Purdue to go to the Final Four.
I like Purdue over UCLA. I think, I can't wait. I need to see it. I'll tell you why in a minute. Shall we?
I had Kentucky. Coming out of this bracket or region originally, and I thought that whoever won between Kentucky and Purdue was coming out of this region. So, like Kansas, I think Purdue's got to be licking their chops right now. They're the best team. I think they're going to steamroll St. Peter's. I think they're going to be a sizable favorite over UCLA or North Carolina. So, I will take Purdue.
Okay. Scroll up to the top. And we're at our Final Four, essentially. I got Gonzaga over Duke, and I get it. I get Edie versus Chet. That's what I've wanted to see all tournament. Lanky, unathletic white guys going against each other in the paint. Let's go. Control, who you got?
I got Duke over Arkansas in this one. This was the one region that I actually got right on my bracket so far, so I'm sticking with it. I think the Duke Blue Devils are going to make their way to the Final Four.
The one region I got right, he's got 1, 2, 3, and 4 left. Great job, Control. Thanks. Shally, who you got here?
In my bracket, I have Texas Tech beating Duke, and I have Gonzaga beating Texas Tech, and I'm sticking with that.
I like it.
So I just think Gonzaga's just going to be able to score regardless of Texas Tech's defense. Gonzaga will be able to score enough to win that game. So I have Gonzaga in the Final Four.
All right, so let's give your finals prediction. I still have Gonzaga over Arizona.
I still have Arizona over Gonzaga.
I will be switching it up. I am taking Arizona over Duke.
You'll be switching it up? You sure? You don't want to go to Tennessee again?
If he can't do it, so I'm taking Arizona over Duke.
I like it. All right, guys. That's a lot of March Madness talk. We got to move. If you don't mind throwing the movie bracket up, we got another region to get into, and I can't be more excited. This bracket has gotten so much conversation. I've been at people like, where's this movie? Where's this movie? The second side of the bracket is here. Let's pull it up, Mike. So, this might be the overall number 1 seed. Remember the Titans going against Bobby Boucher, the linebacker, the water boy.
I was going to say, I just wanted to throw in a little caveat here. That is a playing game, trouble with the curve. Just long movie, it wouldn't fit on the whole line, so you just got to imagine that it's there. I don't think we're going to get past anyway, but it's there.
So Trouble with the Curve, let me just give it some credit because you guys are going to pick against it. I'm picking Trouble with the Curve over The Waterboy. I'm sorry, I am. I love the movie. Clint Eastwood does an incredible job of scouting baseball. Bo Nix, or Bo, whatever his name is playing high school baseball. He's playing high school baseball, and he's using a metal bat, and he can hear the sound of the bat that he's not catching it, and he has trouble with the off-speed pitch. The reason the movie is called Trouble with the Curve is because he can hear that off-speed pitches throw off this hitter. It's a great movie. It's awesome. It's a ton about baseball. It's got Clint Eastwood. It's got Justin Timberlake. It's just an overall great movie. I'm picking Trouble with the Curve in the playing game. I know I'm going to get outweighed here, and that's fine.
Control.
I'm picking the water boy. Give me my man Bobby Boucher. Undersized linebacker. Didn't even know how to really play football, but then he got himself together. I love Bobby Boucher here. He's playing foosball, even though his mom won't let him, and absolutely should move on here.
Shally?
To Gene's point, I mean, this is, it's always tough for me because I love baseball. Waterboy is a typical Adam Sandler goofy movie. This isn't about maybe what's more entertaining though, or what I like more. This is the best sports movie bracket. Amy Adams is also in Trouble with the Curve. She's Clint Eastwood's daughter, who works in the front office of the team he works for. This is Justin Timberlake's first movie, actually. I think. I'm not sure. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but Trouble with the Curve is a better movie, and that's what I'm picking. I'm going with Trouble with the Curve.
Let's go. In the play-in game to get destroyed by Gonzaga. I like it. So let's move on to Remember the Titans versus Trouble with the Curve, even though it's not there. Control tried pulling a fast one and putting Waterboy in before we got a chance to vote. I'm going to go with Remember the Titans over Trouble with the Curve. Nothing against Trouble with the Curve. Great movie, obviously. I just picked it. Remember the Titans, we'll talk about a lot more in this bracket.
Cue Boys to Men, baby. It's the end of the road. Remember the Titans by Massacre.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if there was a mercy rule, this one would definitely be there. So remember the Titans moves on rather easily.
Yeah, so remember
Keep
the
the
Titans.
clock running.
All right, so we can just click Remember the Titans through. But Mike, plus, bang, submit scores. We're good. Varsity Blues versus the Rookie. It's an 8-9 matchup, and it lives up to the hype of the 8-9 matchup. How do you pick it? Shall I start us?
I've been going over this one in my head numerous times today. This is tough for me. The Rookie, Jim Morris, Tampa Bay Rays, 40-year-old that shows up at an open tryout, gets signed. Great movie, Disney movie. High school coach of this little Texas team. They can't even grow grass on their freaking baseball field because the goats eat it. Versus Varsity Blues, which when I grew up playing high school football, where I did, this was kind of like an epitome of what CB West was like. Their kids ran around town. They won the state championship every year. I in a weird way, I kind of lived through this. To me, I love the Rookie, but I'm picking Varsity Blues.
So, Cottrell, by the look on your face, I know where you're going already. God, let me know.
Good job, Bill. I'm also going Varsity Blues here. I'm borderline disappointed it's an 8 seed. I love Varsity Blues. My boy Paul Walker is in it. John Voight's in it. Absolutely great movie. Like you said, Bill, it is one of those almost like traditional Texas football type of movie. Essentially like how Friday Night Lights is, where with Dylan being always winning, things like that. So Varsity Blues, one of my favorite football movies in general. I'm picking it to win here.
We could sweep it. The worst coach ever, though, Varsity Blues, Bud Kilmer. What a piece of shit he is. Like, listen, I've never hated a coach more during a movie than Bud Kilmer. I'm going Varsity Blues here for the sweep, though.
He had to be hated for that movie to work, though.
I agree. 12-5, Tin Cup versus The Replacements. 12-5s, they say, are one of the biggest matchups for upsets. I'm going with an upset here. I'm going with The Replacements. Keanu Reeves. Listen, The Replacements was just a fun movie of what fans really need when players and owners get in fights over contracts and money and millions and billions of dollars that we'll never touch. But I love The Replacements. I thought it was a great movie. Keanu Reeves, Footsteps Falco, Shane Falco brought him back. Was definitely the better quarterback than Martell. Martell was obviously more talented, but Falco had it here. Hey, and just one more thing I want to say before, if you guys vote me out, winners want the ball when the game's on the line. The Replacements here. Shall we?
Glad you said that. Glad you said at the end. Tin Cup, if you haven't seen it, Kevin Costner sports movie. I feel like he's in this bracket like 9 times. Story of Roy McAvoy, a flamed out professional golfer that works at a beaten down Texas driving range, falls in love with his therapist who's going out with like the big guy on tour and Don Johnson. Got Cheech Marine as his freaking caddy. This is a great movie. It's a great sports movie. Pretty much all about going out on your own terms. He has a chance to win the U.S. Open at the end and is just determined to hit a shot that, it wasn't the right move to go. And he just keeps dunking it in the water over and over and pisses away a lead to win the U.S. Open out of nowhere. I love the story. I love the aspect of sports in it, as long as the human thing too. There's the classic barroom scene where he takes the bet of hitting the ball through the bar out and hitting a pelican off of a wood stand. It's just a great movie. It's Tin Cup for me.
Before you go, Cottrell, because you're going to decide and vote here, that by far was my favorite part of the movie, is when he kept shooting and they yell like, no, just take a drop. You'll chip in. He's like, no, I can make this shot. Give it to me again. And he keeps shooting it. But, that's it's a good movie, and it probably, we'll see. Cottrell, what moves on here?
Of course, you guys put this on me.
We did.
Give me,
We
give me
did.
the upset special. I like the
Oh,
replacements here.
asshole!
My boy Falco definitely got me excited when I was younger. This movie, it almost made me think like, I wonder what it would be like if we had like an actual situation where we had to go to like a complete replacement league, and then of
Scabs.
course the league just wouldn't be as good. And then I saw it with when we had the replacement refs however many years ago, how horrible they were. So completely realistic in that aspect of it. But the movie itself was great. Keanu Reeves did a great job in that movie. So replacements moves on.
Let's
You only
go.
picked this because didn't Falco go to Ohio State in that movie?
No, he didn't. I don't think
Sure?
so. I'm pretty sure he went to
I think-
a Big 12
I
school.
thought it,
He did?
Somebody's gotta
He
look
went to
that
Ohio
up.
State. Jamie said yes.
See-
Somebody look it up.
see, there you go. That's the only reason Cottrell picked it, trying to put that shit past me. I knew that was coming.
And so, sorry, guys. I'm not going to take too much time on this one. This should be a win. This should be a
What are you
win.
talking about?
I'm not
It's the best
taking,
horse ever born.
Bro,
Oh.
you don't know if I'm picking it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going any given Sunday. Yo,
You
listen,
ain't picking it.
you can say anything you want to say, but I'm steaming Willie Beeman and the girls. I'll just keep the show PG.
I'm going any given
Nope.
Sunday as well here.
Listen,
Ja-
Any
Jamie
Given Sunday is a
Foxx,
better movie.
absolutely incredible role.
Shark LeVay. We'll talk about that a little bit more. I think that's a win. Yeah, Secretary is the best horse ever, but any given Sunday is what we
The
say every
Belmont by 25
Petey said
seconds.
any given Sunday is overrated. I can't believe that.
That's wild. That's
That's a
wild.
hot take.
It'll be a Sweet 16.
Overrated.
game.
Overrated how though? Well, yeah. Now that you guys picked the replacements. Yeah.
We were picking any given Sunday over Tin Cup too. Just
Any,
FYI.
no, it's fine. But that's a better matchup. Any Given Sunday is the freaking Providence of this bracket.
Whoa,
Oh,
whoa.
you-
Shark
No.
LeVay, he needed that $1 million contract, damn it. Any given Sunday moves on, Mike. Let's go.
Any Given
God
Sunday is a
damn
good
it.
movie. I'm saying.
I'm kidding.
saying
I'm kidding.
You gave it the freaking matchup just to walk through though.
We got Blue Chips
is-
versus this is another easy one for me. One of my favorite movies of all time. Blue Chips, 100% should win this round. Listen, you got Neon Bedreau, aka Shaquille O'Neal. You got Ricky Rowe, mentored by Larry Bird. Blue Chips is awesome. Western University. Yeah, they lost to Temple in that movie too. I don't know if like anybody else caught that, but Temple got a win versus them, which I thought was awesome. But Bobby Knight's kicking balls in this movie. It's a great movie. Blue Chips all the way. Maybe not all the way. They might lose next round.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta pump the brakes on that. It's Blue Chips. Blue Chips kind of gave you the first like inside scoop of like what really goes on at these big programs.
Yep.
It's kind of like the basketball version of the program for football. Cool Runnings is a great story. Jamaica bobsled team, how they get there. Late great John Candy's in that. But I mean, it's Blue Chips for me.
Let's go.
Clean sweep here. Blue Chips for me too. Shaq and everybody else who was in the movie, absolutely incredible. You guys already hit all the good points. We'll see. We'll see.
I'm
how it makes up next.
I'm going third from now on, guys. I've been going first too much.
Go first.
This is an easy one. Go first.
This is easy. If you haven't seen Dickstown, though, it's a good movie. It's pretty much about James Wood being a hustler with an old boxer, Louis Gossett Jr., trying to pull off this feat of winning 10 fights in one night. It's a great like small town movie about I want to say it's in Georgia. It is in Georgia. But Friday Night Lights, I read the book before the movie came out. It was something I'd read on my own. Great book. Charles mentioned this movie earlier with Varsity Blues. It's another great Texas football movie. Friday Night Lights could easily walk out of this bracket. So it's Friday Night Lights for me.
Full disclosure, haven't seen Dickstown. Even if I had, I think I'm still picking Friday Night Lights here. So Ruby Miles is going to run through Dickstown and take their lunch money. So Friday Night Lights moves on.
Cottrell,
What a
watch
bug!
Dickstown though.
What a bug! You want to win? You gotta put Booby in.
Yeah.
Come on, coach. Let me spin. Friday Night Lights, baby.
Just busted ass and ACL. Oof.
Oh, let me go first on this one.
Ooh, Gene go last. That's fine.
All right,
Yeah.
cool. I'm taking the upset here as well. Give me The Longest Yard. The story of The Blind Side is absolutely great, but for me, when it comes to watching the movie, I'm more entertained watching The Longest Yard, man. Give me the upset special here.
Trell, I love you. I gotta disagree with you on this one. I love The Longest Yard. I can't tell you. It is one of those movies. If I'm flipping through channels and it's on, I put the clicker down. I love it. I think it's greatly entertaining. The better movie though is The Blind Side for me. Sandra Bullock won an Oscar for Best Actress on this. The story of Michael Orr. The story, just the journey this kid went through in this movie and how well done it is. It's The Blind Side for me. I love it. I actually watched the end of it again the other day. I love Blind Side.
This is the first one I've ever had. What, a room to yourself? A bed.
A bed.
Listen, guys, this to me is very easy. I think it's very underseated, in my opinion. Run the dang ball. No more trick plays. Run the dang ball. I'm giving The Blind Side. Michael Orr. Come on, guys. Come on.
Who died and made him Bear Bryant?
I love Blind Side. It's one of my favorite movies. Obviously, they're on these brackets. I keep saying that. I think all these movies are one of my favorite movies. I'm going third on this one, but this one should be a quick one.
It's a massacre. Bull Durham versus the program. I just mentioned the program. This is the football equivalent of Blue Chips. Steroid use. It's pretty much, if you watch the movie, it's pretty much aimed to be Florida State during their cheating scandal and all that stuff, and their steroid scandal they went through. James Conn plays the head coach. It's a good movie. If you're a football guy, it's a good movie. But Bull Durham, again, another movie that could easily win this bracket. Kevin Costner, again, baseball movie. Crash Davis, home run leading hitter ever in the history of the minor league. Susan Sarandon, who's like a announcer / sex freak that sleeps with all the players. It's just a funny, great look at minor league baseball. Then you have what's his name? That was the pitcher's name. I forget.
Tim Robbins?
But Tim Robbins plays the young and up and coming pitcher that Kevin Costner takes under his wings. It is an amazing, amazing movie. It's funny. It's Bull Durham for me.
It's also Bull Durham for me, but the program is a very, very underrated movie. I really like the program. Didn't got a bad draw here. So Bull Durham pretty easily here as well.
Bull Durham. We'll talk more about it next week. We got to run. Can do me a favor. Scroll down. I want to show. This is previewing the last and final bracket.
Midwest is just bloodbath.
Rudy versus the winner of Semi-Pro Wildcats. Mighty Ducks versus We Are Marshall. A League of Their Own versus Rookie of the Year. Hoosiers versus The Express. Isn't that the Midnight Express? Whatever. Caddyshack versus The Color of Money. Major League versus Sugar. Hoop Dreams versus 8 Men Out. And Field of Dreams versus Draft Day. That's a monster bracket right there.
It is.
Hey, listen, is there a St. Peter's in here? Is there a St. Peter's?
Not in that bracket.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding, guys. All right, let's move on. We got to get into our baseball list. We do these notoriously last year. It worked out really well. We're going to do 2 a week because obviously baseball just shot a season on us in the middle of March Madness, in the middle of NFL free agency. But we're going to pull up our catchers list first. We have a graphic this year, which I think we did a really good job on. We got Cottrell's list, we got Shalley's list, we got Gene's list. All three of them up there. We all didn't talk about who's going to be where. I added a couple honorable mentions because I'm an asshole. But
Gene's got half the league on his list.
Look at Shalley staring down the list to try to talk shit. I love it. All right, so
you listed half the catchers in the majors on your freaking list.
It's only 13, okay? Relax. I like catchers.
I have 17 catchers on my list.
Guys, I'm going to go through my honorable mentions, and then Control go through his list, Shally, and then me, and then we'll do the exact inverse order for pitchers. My honorable mentions are Carson Kelly from Arizona. I think he can easily be up here. Tyler Stevenson from Cincinnati, who's taking, I feel like that Cincinnati team, he's going to hit a lot of, hit the ball well, and he's a very good defensive catcher. And I have Jacob Stallings from Miami. Had a great year in Pittsburgh. I could have Jacob Stallings in my top 10. Here's the reason I don't. You went from one of the worst pitching divisions in baseball to clearly the best. And I think Jacob Stallings is up here a lot more for his hitting than he is for his defense. But that's just my opinion. Cottrell, give me your top 10.
I would say it was the opposite for me. He's up there because of his defense. But my top 10, and to be clear here, the one odd person out that I don't have that you guys both have would be Mitch Garver. Mitch Garver is a guy who I don't see much of because I don't watch much Texas Rangers baseball. So he obviously could be on the list. So I would say that's my one, I guess, honorable mention. I gotta stop being a casual when it comes to the Texas Rangers, I guess. But I guess that would be the one that I left out. But my number 10 would be Adley Rutschman from the Baltimore Orioles. This is a guy who hasn't been caught up yet. And I think that in a situation where the Orioles absolutely stink, they're going to bring him up. He's one of the top kids in baseball right now. He was the number 1 overall pick a few years ago. Like this is a guy who I think is going to come in and he's going to be special on a team that's horrible. So
Cottrell, I won't break down any one of your picks besides this one. This guy right here is going to be a top 3 to top 5 catcher in all of baseball. I think it's a little premature, but I think he is. Like, you have him in your top 10 means he's going to have a miraculous. Like, he won't be on the opening day roster.
Oh, no, I know that.
I love that you have him here, and we can talk about him a bit, but he's going to be absolutely a top 3 catcher in baseball in 5 years. But continue. I apologize.
My number 9 will be Travis Darnaud. I think that Travis is a guy who he had a more of an off year last year. I think this upcoming year in Atlanta with Acuna coming back, I think his numbers will be a little bit better. He had the injury to his thumb early on too. So I think that hopefully this year he can stay healthy, play a lot of games for Atlanta and really get it going. My number 8 be Jacob Stallings in Miami. Like I said, this is a guy who plays a lot of defense, and I think he's going to be pretty good behind the plate. He might win another Gold Glove. Who knows? My number 7 be Mike Zunino from Tampa Bay Rays, guy who hits a lot of home runs here, might hit 35 home runs this upcoming season. Number 6 for me, Sean Murphy. Number 5, we got Wilson Contreras in Chicago. This was kind of one of those weird ones for me with Wilson Contreras. I think he's either going to be one of those top 5, top 6 guys, or he's going to be completely off the list. I just don't. I'm kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt here, but I'm thinking that this is going to be the season for him, and he's going to get his numbers back up to where I think they can be. My number 4 may be a little bit surprising with Salvador Perez being this low. And I know he had an incredible season last year. 2 things I got going against him. I think last season was going to be the biggest outlier for him. I don't think he's going to be able to repeat that caliber performance. And 2, the 3 catchers that I have above him are all on better teams with better rosters, and I think their numbers are just going to ultimately be up there with him, and then the team's just going to have more wins. Number 3, I got Grandal from the White Sox. I think, obviously, good catcher for the White Sox. He's in a loaded lineup as well. I think his numbers are going to really step up. Number 2, I got your boy, JT Realmuto from the Phillies. And number 1, I got Will Smith from the Dodgers.
Shally.
So me and Cottrell pretty much almost have the same exact list, just a different order. So I guess we're pretty much thinking along the same lines. To Gene's point, I went back and forth with putting Adley at 10 and Yachty. Gene's also correct. He's not going to be on the opening day roster. He's actually also hurt right now. He's a tricep injury. I don't think you realistically see him probably till June or July. I just don't think he's going to get enough at-bats to be on this list. To Gene's also point as well, in the next 3 to 4 years, he's probably number 1 on this list. He's the number 1 prospect in minor league baseball. He's can't miss, and the kid's a stud. So for my list, I start number 10. I went with the sentimental one here. I've loved Yachty for a long time. This is probably the last year he makes this list. So I went Yachty number 10. Mike Zanina, which Cottrell talked on, power hitter out of Tampa Bay. Should still put up good numbers this year. Decent defensive catcher as well. Jacob Stallings is the best defensive catcher in baseball. He had 21 defensive runs saved last year. He's third in framing, I believe, behind Sean Murphy and JT. He's for a pitcher, he's the best person you can throw a baseball to in major leagues. Sean Murphy at Oakland, another defensive stalwart. More on this list because he is a good defensive catcher. He's a little bit better hitter than Jacob Stallings. The only reason he's above him. Mitch Garver from Texas, to Cottrell's point. They've spent like $500 million this year on all these players. Texas is going to be a good team this year. Mitch Garver, number one hit rate for fastballs out of all catchers in the major leagues, which surprised me with some of the guys that are above him. You throw him a fastball and he hits it. He's the hardest average exit velo and the hardest hit rate for fastballs among all catchers. Wilson Contreras from the Cubs. Only reason I have him as 5 is he is defensive. He's a little bit of a liability. He is a minus Fangraphs for WAR in both defensive categories of framing and defensive runs saved. And I think his numbers are going to go a little down because that lineup is just not what it was last year. Losing Chris Bryant, losing Javi, I think his numbers are going to go down a little bit. Number 4, I have Salvador Perez from KC. I have him number 4 for the same exact reason Cottrell put him here. I think he's going to have another good year. I think last year you saw his career year. I don't think he puts up those numbers again. I think that's the peak of Salvador Perez. That's not saying anything against him. Defensively, again, he's a liability. He's negative on both defensive metrics, but he can hit the hell of a baseball. Number 3 for me, I have Will Smith. I think people look at his raw numbers and don't take into consideration enough of how much he benefits from hitting in that lineup with those people around him and people on base. He's a 250 hitter, career hitter. He's nothing special. He's a very good catcher, don't get me wrong. I have number 3. His numbers for me are just a little bit inflated. Number 2 for me, Yasmani Grandal, Chicago White Sox. He's actually still getting better, in my opinion. I struggled between going back and forth between him and JT, put number 1 on this list. Another great lineup, very good team. They'll be just as good as they were last year, if not better. I went with JT over Yasmani just strictly on defense. I think offensively, I think they're very similar. JT is the best framing catcher in baseball. He's third for defensive run saved. And I think his number is going to go up this year with the way that lineup's going to be constructed around him and Bryce in the middle. He's going to have consistent people on base every time he comes up. So I will go with JT Realmuto as defending best catcher in baseball this year.
All right, so I have Travis d'Arnaud 10. I think that he's going to have a good year in Atlanta. I think Atlanta's the best team in the East right now. Omar Narvaez from Milwaukee, I have him 9. I think he's a very good catcher and one of the best lineups, one of the best teams in the NL, in Milwaukee. Sean Murphy, for all the reasons said, number 8. Mike Zunino, who smashes the ball, number 7 for Tampa. Mitch Garver, number 6. Yes, watch a couple more Texas Rangers baseball games because he is awesome. Wilson Contreras is number 5, Chicago Cubs. I think the lineup stinks. I think he could be really good. I think he'll be maybe a trade piece, trade deadline. Chicago really needs to rebuild there. Yasmani Grandal is my number 4. He's obviously not a great defensive catcher, and he's nowhere near the hitter of the 3 ahead of him. Will Smith's my number 3 and probably the best lineup in baseball. I think he'll get a ton of hits, ton of RBIs, but between that. And I have JT Realmuto, even though he had an awful year last year, number 2. And I struggle to put him number 2. I think it's a homer pick, me putting him number 2. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. He's a great defensive catcher. But what he did last year after he got paid was inexcusable. So I hope that he has a bounce back year with all those bats in the lineup behind him. But the best catcher in baseball right now, especially hitting, is Salvador Perez. Guy had 48 home runs last year. I don't see any reason of him slowing down this year. I understand that Kansas City stinks, but he could get traded. He's the best hitting catcher in baseball, and I don't think it's that close. I'll take Perez, number 1, and I think that it's criminal that you two have him at 4.
He's the worst defensive catcher on anybody's list here, and it's not close. You could say what you want about hitting, but defense is a bigger part of being a catcher than any other position on the field. He is hands down the worst defensive catcher on this list.
I would argue Grandal is, but okay.
He's minus 19.5 for framing, which is by far the lowest on the list. Minus 5 defensive runs saved last year as a catcher. So he actually gave up more runs than the team earned.
He was hitting home runs to get those runs back.
I'm not arguing. Your argument was Grandal was the worst defensive catcher, and that's not factual at all.
Okay, let's get to pitchers. I have I really wanted to make a bold statement on pitchers. I really did. I didn't do it. I kind of chickened out here. I'll go first. I'll tell you the person that it is. You can notice that we see he's lower than he is on most people's list, which is fine. I got my boy Julio Urias, number 10. Let me go to my honorable mentions first. Justin Verlander's coming back from Tommy John surgery. I think that Justin Verlander could easily be on this list, but I can't put him over Urias because Urias is younger, getting better, whereas Verlander's coming off a major injury at 37 years old. Robbie Ray, and I really, really, truly believe Aaron Nola has a bounce-back year this year. So I have Aaron Nola as one of my honorable mentions. But Julio Urias is my number 10, one of my favorite pitchers in baseball. I've been on this kid since he was 19 coming up. Ice water in his veins in the playoffs. I'm a believer, but only to an extent. Shane Bieber's my 9. I almost think it's criminal that neither one of you guys have Sandy Alcantara on your list. Sandy Alcantara has arguably the best stuff in baseball. Like, his movement rate is unbelievable. The guy can get through a lineup, and he plays on a really shitty Miami team, but he easily could be an ace on a ton of staffs. Brandon Woodruff, correct me if I'm wrong, but did he lead the league in wins last year? Was he the one that led the league in wins last year, or was it Corbin Burns? One of the pitchers from Milwaukee led the league in wins last year. I think it was Woodruff.
They're both really close. I'll look it up. Keep going.
Garrett Cole is my number 6. See, I almost want Garrett Cole and Max Scherzer, my 5-6. Stop here for like 30 seconds. I'm like, just not. These two might not be on the list. Garrett Cole's ERA went astronomically up after the spin rate went astronomically down after the whole where they were putting shit on their hands on the baseball, Spider Tech last year. I don't know if he's got it. I really don't. I don't know if he's got it or he's been cheating. Max Scherzer's arm at the end of last year showed me that the wear and tear on this kid's arm might not be where it needs to be anymore. I remember with Doc Holliday, and I hate saying this, but I remember with Doc Holliday, he had a great year, and then he fell off a cliff. I honestly believe that year's coming for Max Scherzer. This year might not be it, but I really think that his arm gives him huge issues in New York, and I think him and Garrett Cole could be off this list completely. Zach Wheeler, I'd argue the second best pitcher in the NL East. Zach Wheeler's a stud. Could have won Cy Young last year. You got Walker Buehler at 3. Walker Buehler's going to pitch behind one of the best lineups in baseball, and he's going to get a ton of wins and rack up a ton of them. Corbin Burns, who's got absolutely disgusting stuff. Like, Corbin Burns is going to be on this list for the next 3-4 years. And then the best pitcher in baseball, it looks like everyone's got him across the board, is Jacob deGrom. The guy's just been doing this season in, season out. I'll go Jacob deGrom.
So for my list, the next two off my list were both, Bieber was 12. I went back and forth between Shohei and Alcantara for 10. I went with Shohei because I think he's finally healthy, and I think he's just gonna put up better raw numbers. But to Gene's point, Sandy, I mean, he's nasty. If they could ever build a freaking team in Miami, he's going to be a bona fide ace. I went with Shohei Ohtani for number 10. We've seen what he can do when he's healthy. It's just a matter of if his elbow is going to hold up through a full year of starting games, and not skipping every other start. Julio Urias, number 9 for me. The kid keeps just getting better. I think he's 21 now. I believe he won 20. He won 20 games last year. He actually led the NL in wins last year, Gene.
That's amazing. I love it.
He's just getting better. He's probably going to be a lot higher up on this list next year. Brandon Woodruff for me, number 8. Gene already touched on him. They have the 1-2 punch of him and Corbin Burns in Milwaukee. It's probably the best top end of the rotation out of anybody not named LA. Robbie Ray had a great year last year. Went to Seattle, went to more of a pitcher's ballpark than Toronto. I think his numbers are going to go even better this year than they were last year. A very good left-handed pitcher. I'm surprised you left him off your list, Gene, to be honest. And he's another one. He's a young guy. He seems like he's been around for a long time, but he's a younger guy, still getting better. Garrett Cole, I agree with Gene. His last 8 starts versus compared to the beginning of the season last year, they're night and day. He had 1 or 2 good spot starts in there, and then everything else across the board was not good. His spin rates are down. His velo is down. His exit velo, hard hit balls, is through the roof compared to the first 16 starts he had last year. I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting year to watch Garrett Cole in New York. Number 5, I have Zach Wheeler. The only reason I have him 5 is I think he's going to start the year from the DL. He's had arm problems in the past as well. His shoulder's already bothering him. They're saying it's just tired from pitching so much last year. I don't believe that because I don't believe anything the Phillies tell me. So it's number 5 for me. Listen, that kid earned every penny of his contract last year. He pitched his heart out for this team last year. He is absolutely the bona fide number 1 on this team. I don't want to hear Aaron Nola talk anymore. I don't. Zach Wheeler's just a better pitcher. Number 4 for me, this is where I started to struggle. In hindsight, if I had more time to think about it today, I probably would have switched these 2. I love Walker Buehler. It's the one thing me and Gene agreed on with the Dodgers 2 years ago when we first started talking about baseball. Walker Buehler is an absolute stud. Another young kid, just getting better and better. He's just going to continue to climb up this list. Number 3 for me, Max Scherzer. I disagree with Gene. I think he was just overworked on short days rest last year. I don't think this is the year he falls off the cliff. It all happens. It happens with all pitchers. So Gene's right. We saw it with Roy Halladay. You see it with all old pitchers, not named Nolan Ryan and not named steroid abuser Roger Clemens. Eventually, the elbow and the shoulder just goes. I mean, it's anatomically speaking, the shoulder is not designed to throw a baseball overhead that hard that many times. It's the old saying, you just run out of bullets, and they all do. I just don't think it's this year. I think he's got one more year in him. But Gene's not far off on that point, and Gene could absolutely be correct about him. Corbin Burns, Milwaukee, had a breakout year last year. Won the Cy Young, I believe. Again, they probably have the best 1-2 punch in baseball. I mean, I think it's a matter of debating if you think Urias is better than Woodruff. That's where your argument comes, because Buehler and Burns are very close. Great pitcher. They've built around him in Milwaukee. He's probably going to have another great year. All his secondary numbers and metrics are just through the roof. Nobody hits the ball hard off of him. He doesn't walk people. Good strikeout pitcher. Just a stud. The number 1 is still who it is for me. It's Jacob deGrom. He's the best stuff on the planet. I don't know if you saw spring trading outing yesterday. Max was busting his balls in the dugout about throwing curveballs, so he went out in the second inning and threw one. And then he throws a curveball about 0.8% of the time. People don't realize that. He's a fastball cutter, changeup pitcher, and he's got a devastating slider. The kid that was batting against him obviously watched scouting before, and after deGrom threw the overhand curve, he literally stepped out and started laughing because he just never throws it. It wasn't what he was expecting. It was a really funny moment for spring training. But he's got the best stuff in baseball. If he's healthy, he's the best guy. I said it before, and I'll say it again last year. If he's right, every single time he steps on the mound, he's capable of throwing a no-hitter. That's how good he is. So for me, it's Jacob deGrom.
Bro, I love your list. I do. I think that your list is solid. I left Robbie Ray off just because I don't know who to put him on over. His breakout year was last year with Toronto, and he is going to Seattle, and Seattle's a more pitcher-friendly park. but like I don't know who to put him over. I really don't. As you see with Cottrell, he's got Shane Bieber really high. I get it; it's Cleveland homerish, but like I could
Bieber
see.
75.
No, I agree. Cottrell, give me your 10.
Show with the Guardian love.
Absolutely. Would it be me without it? But 10, I got Justin Verlander. I do think he bounces back from the Tommy John surgery. I was telling Gene earlier, I saw an interview where Justin said that he wants to get 300 wins before he retires, and he's got about 70 or so more wins to go. So if he wants to get there, he better start having some good seasons. I think that starts this year. Number 9, I got Zach Wheeler. Wheeler absolutely could be higher on this list. He absolutely should be higher on this list. But problem is that I think that some of the guys you have ahead of him, Walker Buehler, you have ahead of him. You know, Corbin, obviously, like the top 4 guys you all have ahead of him. I think Brandon Woodruff is going to have a better season than what he has. And then I'm already jumping the gun here with Shane Bieber at 5. Shane Bieber is going to have an incredible season this year because he just got a new contract. He's going to start to have an incredible season next year, and then the Indians are going to trade him for next to nothing. It's the same song and dance I've seen for 15 years at this point. He's going to end up on the Yankees or the Dodgers or maybe the Phillies, somewhere good, and he's going to be an ace and go win the Cy Young again and all that. So I'm banking on Shane Bieber having another career year just because he's putting out his highlight tape for other teams to see and come and get him because he knows the Indians aren't going to pay him long term. Number 4, Corbin Burns, another guy, absolutely should be higher. The only reason why he's not higher is because I think that Garrett Cole is going to win the Cy Young in the AL. I think Garrett Cole is a pitcher who struggled. He struggled a lot last year after the whole pine tar thing, but he had a whole offseason to adjust, and I think that he's figured out how to do it legally, or he's had to try and figure out how to do it legally. So I think the adjustment for Garrett Cole is going to show this upcoming season, and I think he's going to be more on his game. So I got Garrett Cole winning my AL Cy Young. Number 1, of course, Jacob deGrom, best pitcher in baseball, no doubt about it. And I'm also with Bill on this one. I'm kind of all over the place with my list here, but Max Scherzer, I think he has one more good season in him. That's why he's at 3 for me.
I mean,
Gene, you want to go first? You want me to go first here?
No, you got it. I just the only thing I can't fathom, and the only thing that makes this okay for you, you know what's funny? I'll help you out. Ready? Just switch your 2 and 9, and the list doesn't look that bad. Like just make 2 9 and 9 2, and it looks way better. And I'll help you.
Wheeler being 9 is criminal, bro. Like that is that's
like
bad.
He easily could have won the NL Cy Young last year. That was the debate between him and Corbin Burns.
And he should have got more votes than he did.
I agree.
9 is just that's bad.
And he pitches in such a a hitter-friendly ballpark, and he still does well. Like I don't know.
Listen, the only thing I'll say about like the Garrett Cole slander is we also have to remember like almost all the pitchers use it. It seemed to bother him more than a lot of others once they outlawed the spider attack. Everybody on this list uses it. They all do. The only other person I think you could argue that it affected more was Tyler Glasnow, who he blamed it on him tearing his elbow up and getting Tommy John on not being able to use spider attack. So that was interesting comments from last year. But I don't know. I think they're all good lists. I mean, there's a little bit room for interpretation. I mean, we all seem to have the same 5 or 6 guys at the top, though. So, I mean, we'll all agree on that.
Projections. Remember, guys, this is a projection list, not a Lifetime Achievement Award. These aren't the best 10 pitchers in baseball. They're the best 10 for 2022. That's it we got for baseball. We're going to do first and third base next week, which will be fun. First base, I already looked at it now. There's 2, and then there's the other 8. Like, there's 2, and then there's the other 8 for first base. Just FYI, I will help you in advance. Okay, so NFL free agency, I'm going to go really quick here. There's 3 really things. We're going to touch on one because one has to do with Cottrell. But I'll lump the wide receivers together. The easiest way to never win a Super Bowl was to pay a receiver over $25 million. I love Devontae Adams. I love Tyreek Hill. That's a great way not to win a Super Bowl, is to use 10% of your cap on wide receiver one. That's wild. The quarterback throws him the ball, right? Tua stinks. You can't pay Tyreek Hill $30 million to come down to Miami Beach and expect him not to be an asshole. I think him being in Kansas City was helpful for him because there's not really many things that he can do to be an asshole in Kansas City. I think a lot of people forget Tyreek Hill's a scumbag, okay? I just want to make sure everyone understands that. Tyreek Hill is a scumbag, okay? Let's be clear about that. It beats women. Just be clear, okay? Him getting $30 million and being in Miami Beach is the recipe for disaster, just to be clear. Devontae Adams going to, I think he'll have a really good connection to Derek Carr. Went back to the whole college situation where Carr and Adams, they obviously have they work out together. They have obviously history together. I think that'll help them. I think the Raiders needed to do something. I just don't think paying a receiver that much money when outside of your defensive line, your whole defense stinks. I just can't do that. And then, I just want your quick thoughts on the wide receivers, and then we'll talk about Watson for a minute.
I think you're spot on with Tyreek Hill. I think it shows he bolted for the money. I mean, apparently Kansas City offered him a pretty strong contract to stay, and you're playing with Patrick Mahomes, who is signed there for the next 10 years. Why you would give that up, I don't know. It was all about the money for him. I get it. But to Gene's point, you're going down to play with Tua. Let's not get anything twisted here. Tua is nowhere near the same level of player Patrick Mahomes, and he's never going to be. We've seen it. I think his numbers get a little bit better this year, and that's going to be because he's throwing to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And then he's also got what's his face from Arizona as a running back now.
They have Mostert too. They have Chase Edmonds and Mostert.
Yeah, Chase Edmonds. So
they're the fastest offense in football.
Yeah, and they have a top 10 tight end, and they have a great defense. We know what their defense is. The question marks there are the coaching. They fired a great coach for no freaking reason because he didn't like Tua pretty much. He wouldn't take games. That's a mistake. I think they pay for that eventually. I agree with Gene though. If you don't think Tyreek Hill's name is going to come up at some point this year about getting in some kind of trouble in Miami Beach and South Beach, of all places, you're crazy. You're crazy. That is not a good place for a dude with his past to be walking around with $120 million. We'll see how it works out. On paper, Miami's a really good damn football team now. So it's going to be interesting to see. I agree with Gene. I think wide receivers are great. I'm not giving up 10% of my cap on one, though. Not with a $2 quarterback to boot on top of all that. So
could try your thoughts.
The only thing that I somewhat disagree with you guys on is while I do think you can't spend a huge chunk of your salary on a wide receiver, we got to remember that in the years coming up here, the NFL salary cap is definitely going to increase with the new, TV rights deals and things like that. So I think these are going to be the new caliber deals. So I think that's kind of why teams are jumping the gun and getting these bigger contracts out the way because they know, obviously the market always gets reset, but I don't think these two deals are going to be as bad as they seem to be right now when the salary cap goes up and these teams are, pretty flexible with how they manage their money. Plus, there's all these loopholes in the NFL anyway where you can just give it to them as a signing bonus anyway and just not have it count against your cap. So I don't mind the contracts too much here, but I think the Adams to the Raiders deal is going to be much more important in the grand scheme of things just because, like you said, Tua's not the guy. Tua's not the guy there. So I think Tyreek Hill could be the more important piece that was moved after Miami gets a real quarterback.
And the last thing we got to talk about is Deshaun Watson before we get in. You got to be kidding me. Deshaun Watson got traded to the Cleveland Browns. I just want to be clear when I say this. More and more information keeps coming out about the situation and how many people got caught lying in this Deshaun Watson thing. Innocent until proven guilty, and there is no criminal charges placed against him. So I'm not here to debate his legitimacy as a human being. I actually don't even think he should be suspended. He will be, but I don't think he should be, just to be clear. Let me just get that out of the way. Second, what Cleveland did was they made $45 million of a cap bonus. So he only had to get paid $1 million. So if the NFL fines him this year or suspends him, then he's basically, being fined out of the $1 million. I think it's a great move for the Browns. I don't care how much they've given up. I don't care how much guaranteed money they've given up. I don't care what it is. They need a quarterback in that city. They need a quarterback to take them to the next level. I think they'll recoup some of the draft capital when they trade Baker Mayfield. Shally, and then we'll turn it over to Control.
I agree with some of what you said. I disagree with other parts of it. This is going to, I think it's all going to, well, I agree. I think we all agreed from the get-go that all 22 people were probably not telling the truth. I think some of them probably were. That's all going to come out here sooner than later. The original 8, I think, is what it's going to boil down to, how he gets punished. I think he's going to get suspended. I think it's a shitty look for Cleveland, to be quite honest, to say if, he does lose these lawsuits and there is legitimacy behind some of these women's claims, that you gave him a loophole to not lose money to get fined out of a smaller pool of money, so it doesn't hurt him as much, because everybody's also forgetting that he got paid last year. So, but again, we're going to see. To Gene's point, more of it keeps coming out. We'll see how that all lies in the end. So I'm not going to get caught up in all that, too much either. We'll that dust is all going to settle sooner than later. So, but as a pure football move, it's an absolute great trade for Cleveland. I don't know how you could say it's not. It became very clear that they were moving on from Baker. You have the chance to go get a top, 5, 6, 7, however you want to rank him, quarterback in the league. Sign him to a long-term deal with all the pieces they already have in place, with a very good defense they already have in place. It's a no-brainer. I think the only downfall about any of this would just possibly be what comes out down the road. And this isn't necessarily a Deshaun Watson, specific thing. The NFL in general has an issue with disciplining people when players do stuff against women. They have a domestic violence issue. So
I agree with that.
Again, that's not a Deshaun Watson specific thing. So we'll see how that plays out. Like I said, like Gene, I don't want to get caught up in that. As a pure football trade, it's an amazing trade for Cleveland. Bravo to them. Well done. It looked like he was going somewhere else, and then he changed his mind. So
yeah,
sure, Charles going to tell you.
Atlanta blew another 28-3 lead. Control, give me some minutes on this, and then you got to be kidding me. Like we're there.
I got you. The Deshaun Watson deal was absolutely incredible. From a football standpoint, of course, the one thing that I did want to touch on was that I absolutely love what the Browns did, meaning how they didn't give up any players. I thought for sure we were going to be losing one of our young defensive backs, whether it be Denzel or Greg Newsome. So the fact they didn't give up any players, just picks, honestly, I think we got a better deal for Watson than what the Broncos and the Seahawks trade went through. So I'm really excited for Deshaun. I think them loading up that money for him is ultimately what made him choose the Browns. So if that was their bargaining tool, then it kind of is what it is. I get it. The optics may not look good there, but I'm sure that was a huge part in him making his decision. And the Browns had an issue. They keep missing on franchise quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield, he's a middle of the road quarterback. I've been saying it all along, past year, that he's not a franchise guy. So it was time to move on from Baker. I'm glad they finally did it. And, I'm interested to see where Baker Mayfield ultimately ends up, because at this point it seems like no one wants him. So still got a little bit of ways to go with that.
That is the fascinating part about that. Like, there's teams that have publicly come out and said, like, nah, like, we're not interested. So I don't know, man.
I think he's a Giant. I want to put that on record. I think Baker Mayfield will be the Giants' next quarterback. But real quick, guys, we got to get into You Got to Be Kidding Me. Control starts off.
All right, so You Got to Be Kidding Me, we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but the whole deal with St. Peter's cheerleaders not being able to be at the NCAA tournament. So I understand it's a funding issue and things like that. Smaller school, they can't bring their cheerleaders with them to the games that are across the country, things like that. But for NBC and Peacock to offer to bring those guys from New Jersey over to Indy, but not only give them a bus, Like, that's absolutely insane. Like, if you want to really lend a hand, the billion-dollar company that you are, why not just charter a plane out for them, get to Indianapolis and be able to cheer on their team in probably the biggest game in that school's history. It's an absolute joke, and there's so much money involved. We got to find a way to make it right. We talk about all the optics of, athletes shouldn't be paid, athletes shouldn't be this, athletes shouldn't be that. But if a team like St. Peter's gets to this stage in this point in the tournament, they absolutely should have their cheerleaders and their cheer team there, and it shouldn't be a long bus ride across the country. So for that, the NCAA, NBC, Peacock.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
You know what's funny? We have to go to Philadelphia now. So I can just drive
really?
there.
Yeah, it's like right down the road.
All right, so challenge.
I guess my only question with that is, like, does it fall under like an NCAA violation or something if they give them a plane? Because cheerleading is considered a Division I sport. Like those girls are there on scholarship. So that's the only thing I could think of as the reason they couldn't give them a plane. I don't know if there's any
Peacock or NBC could pay for it. The college itself couldn't if it fell under a violation. But Peacock paying for
essentially it just be an NIL thing at this point.
Correct.
They flew them out.
Yeah, it's true.
Shally, what's yours?
All right. Well, I was going to do one thing, but now I'm doing something else because I don't have time to do the one I want to because we just gave you guys so much great content tonight. I was dead set on doing one thing. I had another backup, and then something happened yesterday. So I'm going to do this one instead. My You Gotta Be Kidding this week is Jorge Masvidal. So if you haven't heard yet, after he lost his fight to Colby Covington, obviously there's still bad blood. A lot of people were thinking it was fake. It was made up for the fight. That's not true. If you follow UFC or MMA in general, it's not true. Those two guys legit hate each other. So what happened yesterday was Colby was out at a steakhouse in Miami somewhere. He had posted on social media where he was. Masvidal, still salty about his ass kicking in the cage. Apparently showed up at the restaurant and waited for him outside, put a COVID mask on and pulled his hood up. And when Colby came out of the restaurant with his entourage, Jorge snuck up and sucker punched him 2 times. There was witnesses there. He's being investigated. They expect him to be arrested and formally charged tomorrow. He's probably going to be in a lot of trouble. I could see Colby maybe taking the high road here and not pressing charges, but I could also see Colby being bitter as hell and pressing charges. So, but regardless of the situation, you had 25 minutes to do what you wanted to do to him, and you couldn't. I understand the bad blood. I understand the shit talking on the family and the kids. Nobody's disputing that fact whatsoever. But you're a professional fighter. If you're waiting outside and in a disguise and walk up and try to sucker punch somebody, you're a pussy. Sorry. That's just the way it is. You're a trained professional fighter. If you would have waited outside and told Colby to square up with you guys and you guys fight in the middle of the sidewalk or in the middle of the street and it's heads up and you knock Colby out, good for you, bro. Again, majority of people watching that fight were hoping you won the fight, me included. But I don't care who you are. You walk up on anybody and go out of your way to be in disguise and sneak up and you sucker punch somebody, that you gain no respect in my eyes whatsoever. In fact, you lost all of it. So for this week, for me, it's Jorge Masvidal.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
I need to make a quick point to that. I told Jamie and Mike, I just need a minute for that. Me and you will disagree with that completely, and I understand your basis on it. The only thing that I guess we dispute on, we talked about this earlier, is I don't think he was disguising himself or hiding in the bushes. He wanted to get through Colby's group of people to hit him. I'm going to say something very clear, and I want to make sure everybody understands this. If someone ever said something about the person I look at as one of my children or my mother or anything like that in the public eyes, I don't care. We get in a fight in the ring and you kick my ass. And listen, I'm not going to be able to beat everybody in the world in a fight. You're not getting away with that. And I don't really give a shit. If you can beat me in a fight, then I'll come back with a bat. I think Jorge Masvidal is a better person than I am, because if that dude would have said what he said publicly about my family, I'd hit him with a bat. So I'm glad that Jorge Masvidal came out and broke his tooth. And I don't think he's a pussy for it. I think, hey, listen, if you can't beat him in a fight, which you obviously couldn't in 25 minutes, you want to come up behind him and punch him in his face and sucker punch him because you don't stop running his fucking mouth, then I'm good with that. I'm good with what Jorge Masvidal did. I want to make that clear. Let me get into mine. Well, okay, let me get into mine. I got a video. It's from the NCAA. It is awful. So, Mike, if you don't mind rolling it.
Plummer Melendez. No. Absolutely not. I'm sorry. First of all, his momentum is taking him with him. He has to swing back. You cannot give this young man a technical foul for this. He's not showing up or anything, because if he doesn't, he is going to almost kill himself. You've got to swing on the rim right here. Your momentum is bringing you back. Because if he doesn't, if he lets go right now, he's going to hit his head and fall on his back.
Okay, you can stop it. Illinois was getting beat. They were getting beat, just to be clear. I don't know if they still win the game or not, but they're on a huge momentum swing. They're down 12 points. They got it all the way to 4. They steal the ball. They dunk the ball. As you watch the dunk, and I want to make it very clear, that dunk is not a technical foul. And somebody in the NCAA, some official in the NCAA, wanted to make a name for themselves, and that's an absolute travesty. It's a joke that happened, and I'm going to make it very clear. The NCAA officiating crew needs to fire that crew. They need not to be on a game. That is awful that got called a technical foul. That is not a technical foul, and you took the game out of the kids from Illinois' hands. Not saying they would have won the game, but at this point, you literally destroyed momentum in that game for Illinois, who was literally on a 12-2 run at the time. I'm sorry, but for that week, the NCAA officiating.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
I think as a whole, we all talked about it too. Like, officiating in general has not been good.
No, not at all.
In a lot of these games, that is the cherry on top. I don't know how they let that guy. I don't know if you're going to fire the whole crew or whatever. That guy who called the tech can't work another game in this tournament. He just can't.
I agree. So, any final thoughts? Show 76.
I had a real quick one. So apparently tomorrow, New York will be lifting their mandate, and Kyrie Irving will be able to play in home games for the Brooklyn Nets.
Come on, play it again. Come on.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Sorry. Any final thoughts, Phil?
I got nothing this week, bud.
All right, guys. Show 76. We're already late. I apologize, everybody. I appreciate you sticking with me. With that, we're signing out. Let's go. Have a good one.